Welcome to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and the Football Show. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me in the studio to look ahead to the weekend's Scottish Premiership fixtures and beyond. Take a wee look at the English Premier League as well. Delighted that we have your company. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for hitting the subscribe button on a regular basis to join the football family. And if you want to download some of the breaking news, you can do that on our app in Google Play and the App Store. Lots to talk about. Here's the fixtures for the weekend that you can look forward to over Saturday and Sunday. We've got Rangers against Hibs, undoubtedly game of the day on the Saturday. Dundee, St Mirren, Kilmarnock against Motherwell, Ross County, Aberdeen. And then on the Sunday, it's St Johnstone against Celtic and Hearts against Dundee United, which I'm looking forward to. Always a nice wee trip back to the capital alley, much to the annoyance of Tam, who's finally succumbed, Ruffy, to the hairdressers because everybody was absolutely giving him pelters, and he's gone back into his hairdresser and says, "Take me back to Nedsville." Yeah. Is that fair, Ruffy?
I was going to say, when are you getting back to get it finished?
Honestly, you should do after dinner. You really should.
The curtains are just hanging by a thread.
Oh,
yes.
I'm not happy with that Roman look.
Anyway, you look far better than you've been going through that kind of a strange hairstyle you were going through. But nevertheless, lots to talk about. Of course, league reconstruction was the story of the week, and it certainly gathered pace. No surprise that everybody's had their say on it. Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic manager, was talking about it today. This is what he had to say on the possibility of, 10, 12, 14, 16? Brendan says, "I certainly don't think it needs to get smaller. There's still a notion for me that we could bring a few more teams into the league. I think from a football perspective, I've always thought the increase in the league would help. If I had a choice, you would play a team home and away, and that would be that." Well, that's Brendan talking from a position of sensibility, but the people who decide are the people who want financial stability, Ali.
Yeah, I think no one really wants the smaller league. No one wants the 10. I think fewer fixtures would suit Celtic and Rangers, but of course you have other clubs wanting the payday, two of the 4 games and the guaranteed home and away fixtures. I think there is an argument definitely for some kind of reconstruction and a way to bring more teams into it and maybe offer a greater variety of teams. I think it can get quite stale at points when you're playing one another 4 times a week. 4 times a season. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it develops and if it develops.
Yeah, it's a big if. Of course, Stephen Robinson, the St Mirren manager, he's in Brendan Rodgers' camp. He also thinks we should be looking to add more teams.
I think, listen, I've been quite clear on it. The league needs to be bigger. It has to be bigger to allow development. It's different for fans. You're not playing the same teams 3 times a season. So it's listen, I think it's important for all aspects. I'm not Scottish, but developing young Scottish players is at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. That's easier to do when every game you're not looking over your shoulder that you might get relegated, which is a catastrophe for the football club.
Yeah, and I think that's the key issue on this. 2 elements that, there's no point in arguing over trying to get down to playing a team home and away, because it just won't happen, Ruffy, because television and, of course, finances dictate for the accountants and business people who are running these clubs. And that's not a criticism, that's just an observation of it all. But I do think that helping young Scottish players get a chance to be blooded into sides is one element that I like in this, and also just that ability to start a season and not have 8 of the teams in the top flight trying to avoid relegation. It's just not right.
Yeah, if the managers say that it is hindering young Scottish players getting a game, then that for me is the biggest thing more than anything else. But as we all know, we have to get round the table on the voting thing. And am I right? It's 11 out of 12 and 75% of everybody else. I think the 75% of everybody else will vote for more teams coming in. I think it's the Premiership that, as you said earlier, that they all start looking after themselves. But I would like something to happen. My idea would be obviously let whatever's going to happen this year. I think next year no relegation, and promote the top 2 for the Championship. That would take it to 14. If that works, do it again the next year and get it up to 16, and then see where we go for there. I don't know who came up with the idea to go to 10. I really don't.
Yeah, sometimes I think they put out a scaremongering story to get, the lesser of what everybody else wants. Do you know what I mean by that? You get to, well, we'll frighten you with 10, but we really only want 14, and we don't want to stretch it to 16. I don't know about you, Tam, but I would like to see 16 because I think there are strong enough sides in there. And then I would only, and I might be brutal on this, but I would only really want one team to be relegated, and if you're going to go in a playoff system, you've got to have teams involved in it who've got the ambition to become Premiership operating clubs.
Yeah, I don't think there'll ever be a 16. I think the television companies will want the four Edinburgh derbies. I just don't.
You can still have that with 14 and 16. You can still have that.
You can have that with 16. How can you have it with 16?
You can split. You could play. I mean, I know some people have slaughtered us on it. I'm talking about every idea that you suggest can always be slaughtered. But if I was to suggest to you, even in 1974, 75, they'd say, wait a minute, you're going to a 10-team league. Are you off your head? But it was suddenly it came to pass. You play each other 4 times. People were wondering about that. Then we rejigged it, jigged it, made rules that you had to have remember the 6,000-seater stadium? Forced people to almost to the brink of bankruptcy trying to do that. 10,000, yeah. St Mirren had to put out all sorts of money. 16 team, you could work out a split that eventually gets people to play.
I just don't think 16's a flyer, Peter. I think 14. Probably what Ruffy said there, probably agree with that. Next season, no relegation, bring 2 up.
He's just suggested 2 after that the next season.
No, I don't think 6.
I'm just saying if that 14 works,
yeah,
you've still got an avenue. I don't think the teams that are in the Premiership after this year should be given a view. You're not going to get relegated for the next 2 years. So
I think 16. I think there could possibly be a lot of meaningless games in a 16-team league.
So you're saying 16? The 16 obviously is. It's for 30 games and then a split.
No, you play. Listen, I know it's open to criticism. I'm just saying that there are permutations to work out a 16-team league, and there are permutations to work out a 14-team league that would split. I suggested maybe, and this is not the definitive. There are ways to split it up, but you could play each other once. That's 15 games, and then you split the top half and the bottom half, and the top 8 play each other a further 3 times, which is 21 games, which means they play 36. They play 2 fewer games, but they still end up playing each other. They still end up playing the top teams 4 times.
Yeah, but as you know, and then the other teams will start looking after themselves, saying, well, we're losing income here. You're not going to keep everybody.
No, you're not.
You're never going to keep everybody happy.
No, the 14 allows you to split it at the halfway point, and then you suddenly get a split to play each other in the second half of the season. There are probably maybe 6 or 7 different permutations, Ali, on 14 or 16 if they were going to extend the league, that would still retain the 4 games that Celtic and Rangers, the television companies demand.
Yeah, I think there are core foundations that you've got to stick with, and that's obviously one of them. I think it's very, very difficult to enact any kind of change the way that the voting is structured. So you've still got the 11-1 voting structure. I think it makes it really tough to bring in any meaningful change to the structure of the league. I think 14 probably works better than the 16 in terms of a natural way of working out ticking all the boxes, essentially. Whether or not it comes to pass, I just don't know. I don't see any real direction or any real genuine appetite at the minute that suggests it will be changed.
Yeah, because all these teams, Peter, as well, and your Kilmarnocks and St Mirren, St Johnstone, they all want their 8 games against Celtic and Rangers every year.
Financially, they need them.
Financially, they need those games. Livingston need to come up. Celtic Rangers fill their stadium. They want those. They want to guarantee. I agree with Alison. I don't think they'd vote for it. I think we're stuck with 12 for them. Unless it's that other rules change, Peter, where it's not an 11 to 1 rule. I think that's the only way of changing it.
How do you change
I don't know how we do that. That's another. Neil Doncaster, so.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. PJB says, Peter, keep it as it is, but change to 2 automatic relegation and 2 promoted. 10th place Premier League team plays the winner of the Championship playoffs. Anything above 12 is too much. I mean, he's perfectly entitled, or she is perfectly entitled, because we've got initials, you never know. But nevertheless, I'm giving you options. Please don't look at me that way. There are other options as well. But nevertheless, someone's got an opinion. Am I taking myself down a rabbit hole here? Anyway, apart from anything else, it's an opinion. And again, it's a different permutations. I just think, Ruffy, that, listen, we're not going to get away from 4. I'm saying we're not getting away from 4 games for bigger teams. But I'm saying if you want to be part of the big league and you want to have ambition, then you've got to look at it and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to, I might have to sacrifice playing Rangers or Celtic, but you still get a big. If you're in that Premiership, you're in 16 teams. There's money to be made. There's still money to be made, playing games. It's how we make it. It's how we make it interesting when a split comes around.
I think you want it to be interesting. You also want as many live games as possible. The last thing you want is to introduce games that are dead rubber when you've maybe got 10 games of the season still to go. You want a structure that keeps it as competitive as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Neil Doncaster and the SPFL board, they'll say to you, well, the current structure does that. Because every time there's a call for change, for me, the call for change comes too late in the season. Because everybody then says, oh, wait a minute, we're getting to the playoffs, it all works. It all works. We've made you 44 million. It's the best league. It's the best format. And then the need for change is quashed. Sunny days, stadiums, playoffs, excitement, it's all there. We've already got the playoff dates being released today. So suddenly you're calling for change at a time when Neil Doncaster is in a perfect position to say, no, let's keep the status quo. And the other people who are working on from the back, because Neil is merely a voice piece of the board. I mean, that's what he is. I'm not in any way diminishing the fact that he's a sharp cookie. But he is basically the representative of what the SPFL clubs want. And he puts that across. So that's his job. He's not one of these people who can dictate what happens.
Yeah, and apart from anything else, he needs the blessing of everyone in the voting structure. He needs everyone to agree about the direction in which it would go. I think it's so difficult. You saw it at COVID times when we were talking about trying to get any kind of consensus or agreement. The way that the structure is, it makes it almost impossible.
Yeah, you've got to change that. I mean, absolutely.
How do you change it?
Well, sooner or later, maybe you get to a situation where you have to force people's hands again. You have to actually say, listen, for the betterment of the game, somewhere you're hoping is going to have a conscience for it. I'm not so sure they will. It'd
be interesting to get the views of every club, and I don't just mean on a voting side, on a verbal thing.
Do you want it in a WhatsApp group?
No.
Yeah.
And I'd like somebody from Aberdeen to come out and say, yeah, we'll do it because of.
And I think
Dundee United come out and say, no, we're not doing it because of.
There's also a danger in taking the word of a manager who's obviously at the forefront of media conferences, and there are obvious questions to be asked today, but I think quite often you might have a manager who's not entirely aligned with what the board have
Listen, Ali, you're sitting next to man speak with forked tongue, right? This is Ruffy. This is Ruffy. This is Ruffy and the crew. Yes, I'm quite happy with what's going on. Phone call. Oh, I'm not happy? Okay. No, I'm not happy. Am I voting this way? What way am I voting? And that's what happens, Ali. That's what happens.
The point is our fax machine was working.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm just saying to you, listen, don't try and rewrite history. We know all about it, Tam. No. We were sitting in this very couch.
Yeah, but I do think, Peter, there has to be an increase. I think 14 would be perfect for me because, first and foremost, there's too many managers under pressure at the minute.
How do you work the 14?
It'd be split. I think they were split into 7 and 7.
Yes.
I don't know the ins and outs of it. But
When do you split it after 26 games?
After they play each other twice.
Yep.
That's 26.
26.
Yeah. And then
Play one another once.
twice.
Then you get 10.
36.
Oh, that's wrong.
No, you
Get 12.
get 12.
That's your 38 games.
There's your 38 games.
So you're still playing the same amount of games.
I think it would give clubs breathing space as well to play younger players. And I think that's what everyone is wanting to see. There's too many managers at the minute under pressure.
Yeah.
You can't afford to put young players in. If you've got a choice between a young player and an experienced player and you've got to win a game, you're going with the experienced player. So I think that's got to come into play as well.
I like Shug's point here. He says, I grew up with 2 leagues, Division 1, Division 2. Simple. 16-team league would work. Shug, I'm with you on it. And Ryan Taylor has an interesting point here. Aberdeen will block it again. Because quite simply, certain clubs ended up, with a great chance with when Rangers were not in the league, there was a great opportunity to get a fairer voting system, and they reneged on that. For whatever reasons, you might want to look back in history and see the exact reasons, but Des says restructuring should be accompanied by overhaul of Scottish football, the way it's run and promoted. We need to move beyond small-minded rivalries affecting things like ticket allocations. And ticket allocations, Des, is probably just one of a million and one things that you could actually highlight with this. There are, listen, believe me, I don't want to get involved in a Barry Ferguson situation. What's your formation? It's a 3-5-7-4-4, 3-3-3. Who cares? My head's muddled. I want to win the game. But there are various permutations to it that we've all read ad nauseum. And, do you want 14? Would you like 16? Do you want the way it is at the moment, 12? Do you want basically next season in August, everybody coming back from their holidays, and then we interview 8 managers to say, we just want to stay in the league. We just want to avoid relegation, because that's the way it goes the minute the ball's
I think
kicked.
what's been quite clear this week is that there is quite an appetite for change.
There is with fans, Ali.
And even with managers.
I think a lot of
there is an
fans.
appetite for
I think,
change.
yeah, there's no appetite with the money men.
Well, that's a different...
Definitely not,
I think that side of it need assurances that certain things remain the same. Like the core of that financial deal, the structure of it would have to remain the same. You need the 4 games, the Celtic Rangers game, the Edinburgh Derby. You need all the guarantees of what are the big commercially attractive matches. You don't want to be messing with that.
Plus, the other thing I like about it is less likely to lose some of the big teams. You're less likely to lose, unless there's a catastrophic situation, you're less likely to lose a Dundee United, a Hibs, a Hearts that have all been in the lower leagues. Ruffy, you remember, and I obviously remember as well, but you remember the change. The change to the new Premier League setup in '75 was just basically because Celtic were winning everything. Celtic were winning everything, and the crowds were dropping, and they had to work out a way to try and stimulate the interest in it, And at that point, when they did stimulate it, eventually it just prompted, granted it prompted it, we still had a really rich vein of young people coming through, which we've seen with Aberdeen and Dundee United. But eventually, I just thought it became stale at times.
I think games are. The game has moved on that quick. If you look at the majority of the teams in our Premier League, they didn't have all the foreign players away back then.
In 74, 75?
Every team in the Premiership now is littered with foreign players.
You didn't have the same disparity of finances either. Celtic and Rangers, Dundee United, Dundee, Aberdeen, they wouldn't have been as far apart as what they are now.
I'm not against foreign players,
No,
Rafi, or
neither
even
am
cheap. Sometimes some of the labour has been cheap and it hasn't added value to the game, but, sometimes we're guilty of pricing ourselves out of our own
good foreign
market.
players, Peter. Well, they're good. Like Frank Sosie or Russell, that, a pair of Rudy Scaccio or somebody like that who's enhancing, but just bringing in substandard foreigners is why the national team has been putting. You're saying 75, 76, there was no foreign players. I bet the Scotland team was good back then, getting to World Cups.
Yeah, but
Most of them are playing in Scotland.
Yeah, but every other country would be the same. No, they wouldn't have an influx of foreign players either, so it'd be a sort of a level field. No, all I'm saying is I don't have anything against foreign players either, but the more foreign players you've got in your team, the less Scottish players are going to get in.
Yeah.
And if you're a young Scottish player, you're going to be saying to yourself, well, there's another 3 coming in this year, how am I going to get into this team?
I don't know if it's more that you've got to be good enough. You've just got to be good enough if you're better than someone coming in. Then.
Yeah, but sometimes you become a better player when you get that first team experience.
Well, they all keep telling us you need, 100 games?
Yeah. And listen, I think a lot of Kenny says in the 80s we had real top class foreign players, not some of the dross we have now. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we want to see good football. We want to see young Scottish players in there. We want to see a connection. Yeah, I'm not of the opinion that you just put a blocker, and a 3 foreigner rule on that. That's a restriction of trade. If there is somebody who's adding legitimately something to the game, then by all means, bring them in. There are always cases where foreign players don't work, just as sure as some of the Scottish players now might go out to foreign shores and it doesn't work out for them. But nevertheless, we've got to do something that takes away this cutthroat mentality of the league and also gives us a chance to give more players the chance to play alongside men in competitive games and give us something for the national side. Listen, it's not an easy answer, but I think...
remember in the SPL you had to have 221 players on the bench?
Yeah, but they just worked out a way just to stick them there and do nothing,
Yeah.
It's that's the problem.
Even something like that, just in terms of Scottish players, you've got to play under 21 Scottish players. There's got to be something, Peter.
Ali makes a good point though. Sometimes you've got to look and you say to yourself, are they good enough? Whatever we're doing, our teams out with Celtic and Rangers are not good enough to even get them into past qualifiers against mediocre sides. And if anything, as I said in the journals earlier in the week, Ali, Iceland 6, Scotland 1 fills me with fear.
I think that was a real shocker, that result when it came through. And also I think the lack of progress in terms of European competition when it comes to qualifying in the summer when you go into European competitions and teams are falling at the first hurdle against other countries that you should be beating. You have better resources. You should be going and competing with. I think that shines a light on the quality of what you've got, and it shines a light on the lack of kind of progress there.
Yeah.
You look at the teams where the Scottish sides have lost to across recent seasons. Even just go the last decade in European competition, the type of teams that you're losing to, it's fairly shameful.
It is shameful, and I think a lot of the clubs have got a case to answer. And it's not just a bland criticism of them. They'll probably come up and say to you, well, starved of cash, had to go for substandard players, whatever the reason is, didn't like the league, too cutthroat, trying to avoid relegation, whatever the reasons, there are many of them. It's not a simple one, it's a complex one. Stephen says coach the Scottish players better, which goes back to what you were saying as well. We do want players coached the right way, but we also want them to be given a pathway to the team in itself. I mean, that's the other thing about it. You want players to be coached well and have the skills and have the technical ability. You want them to get a chance to get a game rather than somebody with an O on the end of his name suddenly coming in and you think he's a better player. Listen, give us your thoughts on it as well. We'd love to hear from you. The weekend Scottish Premiership, we're certainly looking forward to it. We've got a lot of games to look forward to. And game of the weekend is undoubtedly Rangers against Hibs. What a cracker we're in for there. And it wasn't Barry Ferguson speaking to the assembled members of the press this week. It was actually Neil McCann who was talking about Barry Ferguson's contribution in such a short space of time. He reckons that he's provided more than enough evidence that maybe there's a long-term view as him as Rangers manager.
I think what he's shown already, that a lot of people maybe thought from his coaching CV that he maybe wouldn't even be ready to even take this position. I think he's proved that wrong. So it's not my place to tell anybody who's to get the job or not. As I said, all we can do is work hard, and I don't think anybody in this building will tell you anything different.
Has he proved the doubters wrong?
Yeah, I think he has, Peter. I think that When he first came in, I think a lot of people were concentrating on his coaching record, that Alloa, Clyde, where he didn't do too well, Kelty, he probably should have won the league with the budget they had. So probably looking at Peter and going, well, what is his credentials as a coach to get this job? And that was legitimate for me. That was, you could put that case across. But in terms of what he's done at Rangers, the games he's won, Fenerbahce over 2 legs. A lot of people were saying Jose Mourinho, he'll school Barry Ferguson. Greater coaching experience, better manager, all that. Rangers beat them. Goes to Celtic Park, Brendan Rodgers again. Far superior coach in my opinion. Goes and out coaches him and wins the game. So I think he's proved, Peter, that he's more than just somebody that's going to shout and ball and say we're Rangers and try and motivate players, but with the whip. I think he's shown that he's tactically he's got good acumen and he can go and set a team up to go and win games. So no, I think he's done really well, Peter. And the big games are coming up now. I think Celtic, obviously, they're still to play them at home. Athletic Bilbao, they're still to play over 2 legs. If they beat them over 2 legs, I think there'll be a lot of clamour for him to get the job on a full-time basis.
3 wins out of 4 in the league, and one of them against Celtic in their own backyard after such a long wait is good evidence, Ruffy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be looking at the results. I'd be looking at how he's motivated some of the players in that team. And I know results, I mean, if we really analysed all the games, it's up and down, it's up and down. It's not like he's won every game and every game's been fantastic. He's handled the situation. I think that's all he wanted to do when he went in. And it looks as if the players are responding to him, which is another plus. Certainly the fans are. They're bought into it as well. So from here to the end, I think Tam's touched on the games. If he was to win them and have a reasonable run right to the end, I mean, OK, there'll be candidates out there and we'll have to shift through them, but I think he's done more than a lot of people expected.
Yeah, well, one man who's probably ruled himself out of the running for that job is Steven Gerrard. He was asked this week and he's kind of not looking for a job, he says at the minute. He just wants to play golf and go down the boozer, which is probably a reason for Ruffy to call him and maybe start hanging. If Ruffy could start hanging about with Steven Gerrard would find out that that's a great life. You just saunter about boozers, answer a few pub
I don't need
quizzes.
to golf, but I'll go for the others.
Yeah, just saunter about boozers. Yeah, absolutely. And Tam, that would be all right, wouldn't it?
Especially with his money.
Yeah.
Some of these need to work, but if he has money, I can get paid off over in Saudi. He must have 30, 40, 50 million quid. I just go down the pub and play golf now.
Yeah.
Just go about and buy boozers.
Yeah.
Buy them.
And the good,
like
thing
a boozer, just buy it.
The good thing about Tam is Tam could easily hang about with Steven Gerrard on the basis that he's a multi-millionaire. You could kid on you like him. You've done that before with people, haven't you?
Absolutely. I've done it with Ruffy for 6 years.
Listen, it's a great game to look forward to because, quite simply, we have a Hibs side 15 games unbeaten in the league.
David Gray, manager of the month, the second month on the trot, playing a very in-form Hibs side. It was a fantastic game when they met in January at Easter Road, that 3-3 draw. It was actually a real catalyst for Hibs, I think, just sparked a wee bit of belief and a bit of form. Interesting to see. I think at Ibrox you would fancy Rangers and they'll be desperate to win and go into Thursday night's game on the back of a positive result and a bit of momentum. But it'd be interesting to see if Hibs ask any questions, because I think what was really notable last week, just before the break, when after beating Dundee 4-3, when he said, I can see, I'm not fooled by the end result. I can see here what the frailties are in this team last Saturday night. I can still see what's in front of me. I can still see the issues that are here. So interesting to see if David Gray's been paying attention, if he goes and tries to exploit some of those weaknesses.
And David Gray, the Hibs boss, reckons all the pressure is on his counterpart.
I think they're all big challenges for different reasons at different times. Like, pressure will be on Rangers as well. Everyone will expecting them, the expectation of a club like that. I was going there, but I think we can't go into the game in any better frame of mind, which is great. The players have been there already this season. I thought we had a good performance there the last time. Didn't get the result we were looking for, but we've certainly progressed as a team since then. And even when I think back to the game at Easter Road, it was a real good game, really end to end. So I expect another real good game, a tough game with that in mind, but at the same time a game, as I've just touched on there, that the players can really look forward to.
What's he managed to do in your mind to make those dramatic changes that we've witnessed?
I I think he's kept it simple, Peter. I think that he's went 3-5-2, 3 at the back. He's more solid there. I think with the 4 at the back early in the season, I think Rocky Bashiri in particular is better than a 3. He's brought Jack Iredale in, who's just a big, solid left-sided centre-half. No nonsense. And listen, they're not a complicated team to watch. They get the ball wide to the wing-backs, they cross it in the box for 2 strikers. You know, they're quite combative in the middle of the park with the 3 in there. You know, they get about the pitch, you know, they're at about, and if it has to get stuck in behind, Peter, it gets stuck in behind. If it's on to play, they play. So I think he's kept it really, really simple, and I think that all the players have bought into the system. They're getting results, and they can go to Rangers, go to Ibrox tomorrow with a lot of confidence to go and get a result. It's been a long time since I beat Rangers. I think it's possibly Martin Boyle's hat-trick in the semi-final. I can't remember them beating Rangers, and it's long overdue that they go there and win, but I don't know how many times I've said Rangers are there for the taking in the last 2 or 3 years, and Hibs have went and no turned up and got pumped. So I'm wary of saying that again tomorrow. But I think if Hibs can go there and play well, they can get a point. Because Rangers, you know, this season at home they've been really, really poor. And they're still on the run of 4. They've not been back at home. I think they've lost 4 in a row. So listen, maybe want to stop the rot. So I think Hibs are capable of going there and getting a result in terms of a point. I'll go for 2 each in that game.
You go for a draw?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ruffy, where's your money on this one?
Well, not a convincing win.
Right.
You know, if you look at, we already discussed how he's done. He's beat Fenerbahce, he's beat Celtic. The rest of the results have been pretty iffy. You know, so I don't think you're going to that game tomorrow with the home form it's been in the last month or so, expecting to win. But if he does win it, this is the kind of games that are going to get him the job.
Yeah. The last time Tam's just highlighted it was a 3-1 win in the League Cup. With Martin Boyle scoring a hat-trick. So, and that was 2021. So
yeah, well, they're on a fantastic run. They should go there with a wee bit of confidence, but as Tam said, it's not the first time they've went along there and come out with a hiding. So it's an important game for both sides. Obviously, Barry to win the game in front of his home fans, and David Gray to keep that run going.
2018, the last time I think they managed a league win, 2-1 at Ibrox.
Neil Lennon.
So Neil Lennon, yeah, because I think they served up a 5-5 with Neil Lennon doing the impression of a plane at the end of it.
I think that one was Easter Road, was it not?
Yeah, that was at Easter Road 5-5. But this one at Ibrox was the last time they won in the league.
Done it at Ibrox. And they get shot down.
I think that's a fair,
with a bust.
I think that's a fair assessment. What are you going for, Ali?
I think 2-1 Rangers.
I'm the same, 2-1
Rangers. Yep. And a draw for you, Tam. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go 2-1 Rangers. I think they'll just edge it because there's something about Barry. Could be a movie.
Definitely goals, Peter.
Eh?
Definitely goals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Rangers created so many chances against Dundee, but they could have lost 4 or 5. I thought,
yeah,
I think there'll be goals in the game.
Okay, bound to be goals, which calls on Richard Keys to be presenting it and then saying, well, 0-0, not a lot happened in that game. St Johnstone against Celtic on the Sunday, and suddenly you're in a situation where you're saying to yourself, we've all written off St Johnstone and they're up against a Celtic side that it's just waiting for the coronation now with Celtic, and then speculating over what he's going to do with this side. Still to wait and see if he's going to negotiate a new contract as well for the man.
Very interesting times, yes. In terms of your point, I think it's been a procession towards a title for some time. I think it's been a question of if rather than when. I don't think there's ever... I can't remember a point in this season when there's been any real tension about the outcome or any real pressure on Celtic. I think they'll probably want to do it as quickly as possible now, and then it gives maybe scope just to change things up a wee bit. Take a look at some players that haven't been playing regularly. Maybe have a look at a couple of young players that have been in the squad or some fringe players between now and the end of the season before decisions are made.
Ruffy, not only the manager is, a contract that needs to be resolved, but Daisen Maeda is won 30 goals. Somebody's going to be having a look at him. Can they afford to let him go? What's their plans and ambitions for next season? Should they be looking at a side that they build on, or just say to themselves, okay, we are a side that sells on the likes of a Hatate, maybe Maeda?
I don't think Maeda, I think, I don't know what wages they're on, but seemingly the Japanese boys that came in weren't on as good a wage as some of the bigger ones, so I think they'll be giving him a deal that would make him happy to stay here. He's obviously enjoying it, scoring that many goals. I would think another year, but I don't think that we want to be selling Maeda, but I don't think they need to add to the squad.
I mean, he's been absolutely blistering, hasn't he? In that more central role, suddenly, he's just taken, nobody's talking about Kyogo.
Yeah, listen, I think Celtic will be desperate to get him tied down, Peter, but I think there's got to be some admiration from down south in terms of the Premier League. I think he looks perfect for the Premier League for me as a striker. Down there, it's all with pace, power, athleticism. It depends what he wants to do, Peter. I don't know, what age is he? 28? 27, 28. He might think this is his perfect opportunity for him, coming off the back of a great season at Celtic, to go to the Premier League. And I've no doubt that Celtic have sold, getting these guys, getting him and Kyogo over and saying, listen, you do well at Celtic, your next step's English Premier League. Yeah. So I think when you look at, it'll depend on the player. If he wants to go, then I think Celtic will get a big fee for him, but if he feels he wants to stay at Celtic, then that'll be great for the Celtic supporters. But I think there'll come a time where possibly outgrows Celtic. If he doesn't go this season, he starts next season, scores 15, 20 goals before Christmas, somebody will buy him. So
I think the World Cup might be a huge factor in his decision, the way it was with Kyogo when he made the move in January. I think he'll want to stay part of that team.
He doesn't really play for them either.
He's in the squad. Yeah. He's in the squad. I think. So I think he'll be very, very wary of making a move that might jeopardise that place within the squad, given the proximity of the tournament now. But realistically, I think if there is interest and there is a big bid, Celtic would take it. Yeah. They will take it because that's what Celtic do. They take the bid and then they would recycle, go back and see what else he could bring in. Yeah,
they're very much a selling club. And although I think, and by the way, you can only apologise to every fan who accuses you of, you're trying to get, instigate a move for these players. It's just the nature of life and the way players want to better themselves. The difference is sometimes the resolve of a board or a plan or a strategy from a board, Ruffy, on whether they want to actually build and actually listen to what the manager says, because sometimes the manager will say, listen, here's year one, here's year two what I've achieved, here's a knockout phase of the Champions League and a treble. Can we go a stage further? That's probably what Brendan Rodgers is saying. And by going a stage further, here's the squad I want. You can let him go. You can sell him because this guy will replace him, or we can go and buy this. That's what a manager does.
Yeah, I think every year, they'll have a meeting and decide what they want. Obviously this year the full-back position has been in and out. The centre-half position has still not been 100% team. The two guys playing together, that's been chopping and changing. The midfield is okay, I think. The wide guys, every time I pick up a paper, he's wanting to sign a winger. He must be just loves wingers. Yeah. So yeah, I think that if he wants to go further in Europe, obviously the Maeda one, is he up there in a European stage? Is he going to be that player that gets them to win games that they can't win? Yeah.
Remember also when Alison was young, Tam was young and myself, Ruffy, we didn't rush into a sports shop and think, we've got to buy the goalkeeper's top. We love wingers. We love them. They cross the ball. They cross the ball. We love midfielders, Ruffy. Mm-hmm. We just don't like centre-halves and
goalies.
Like goalies.
Yeah. Right-backs and left-backs have... I've actually gone in and bought a few right-backs and left-back tops, but not a goalies. Oh. You know what I mean?
No, you're not big enough for the start, so there's no point in you buying one.
Exactly. That's a very good point, Ruffy. Just on that, Kasper Schmeichel, I'm wondering if there's some kind of a ruse going on here.
No be training.
He's been training this morning.
He'll be getting trained. There's training and training. I wouldn't imagine him diving about like a lunatic in training. Yeah. I think there'll be...
Just kind of an easy going.
Yes.
Yeah. So nothing major.
No, I wouldn't think he'd be doing that a week after that happening.
Yeah. The other great thing is I love the fact that you understand what the two levels of really hard training and easy training was.
Yeah, I love training, I really did. As long as it was a well ball, don't get me to run. I'm not running anywhere, just all I've got to run is for you to that 18-yard line and maybe a wee bit further sometimes. So I'm not doing 5 kilos or whatever you call them,
Yeah.
or 10 k's or anything like that.
Yeah, and you've managed to carry that on into the tennis as well. So St Johnstone against Celtic. Of course, listen, got to be fair to him. Simo Valakari, I think, has, I think a lot of St Johnstone fans are excited by the way he's managed to actually transform the way they want to go about their business, Tam.
Yeah, listen, I think he's come in, he's tried to change the style. I think under previous managers, Callum Davison, Craig Levein, guys like that, they were obviously more defensive, more pragmatic, and quite tight and hard to break down. I think he's totally tried to revamp that and be an open, expansive team, playing out from the back. We've seen it against Hibs last week, doesn't work. I mean, it's only going to work if you've got players that can play that way, Peter.
Yeah.
It's all right having a philosophy, but if you go in and your centre-half can't pass the ball to the full-back, then I don't see why you would stick with it. He needs better players. I think they'll go down this season. Can you do that in the Championship? I don't know, probably, if you get better players in, but you've got to stick with him. It's a long-term plan, Peter. I think if you look at it, I think he's going to be there for the long term, and I think they'll go down this season, and it depends if they bounce back up. But you like to see people come in and trying to play a different way, but I just don't think he's got the players to play like that, Peter.
Yeah, I like him. I like the way
He's positive. I like him as well.
Yeah.
I think he's a very positive character. You speak to him, you hear him after games. Very positive. He's never downbeat. They're bottom of the league, and I think I like him as well.
Yeah. Okay. 4-0 Celtic.
Yeah, I'll go for 5-1.
3-0 Celtic.
2-0.
2-0. You've never really gone up. See, when we were doing the prediction, Ruffy, you just stick to
predictions.
I'm
No,
only
you
saying
do.
that because
You just stick to probability.
And Monday I'll come in here and Brendan Rodgers will say the park was very bumpy. You can't play football in it. We're 1-2-0. We'll go down the road.
Yeah, okay. So no need really to listen to what Brendan has to say on Monday then. Kilmarnock against Motherwell. This one is, listen, Kelly need to get their act together. And I like Derek McInnes because he doesn't mince his words. This is what the Kelly boss had to say ahead of this game.
Saturday's a big enough game in its own entirety, really, just to deal with the game. And if we can get a win, a confident performance, ideally take any sort of win, to be honest, but if we can get a confident performance, get everybody leaving the ground feeling good about the team again, the supporters have a big part to play in that, and the players have got to respond, then I believe that we can attack the remaining fixtures. We are going to be in the bottom six, so out with Celtic, we're going to be playing everybody that's in and around us, so it's important that we try and take the challenge that's there, meet it head on.
Yeah, after a 5-1 thumping at the hands of St Mirren, I certainly didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see that one coming last week either. I thought it would have been tight. But yeah, I think they've missed Kyle Vassell at points. I think they've missed him hugely this season. But I think you've got to start fearing for Kilmarnock at some point. I think it'll be interesting to see just what the reaction is after that defeat in Paisley last weekend. And we know it was played in really pretty appalling conditions. I think maybe mitigating circumstances around it, but it's just I think Kilmarnock all season, I think ever since there was a kind of hangover with the European qualifying games, it seemed to take a toll on the squad when you've not got a depth of squad. They seem to struggle to get going, and then they've just never found their fluency at all. But I think I think I would fear for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, playoff.
Possibly.
Yeah, you're changing every week now,
No,
Ali.
I said that at the start of this week. I said that on Monday too.
You didn't say it at the start of the season.
I didn't see this. I didn't see it at the start of the season.
Yeah.
But
Don't forget, by the way, it's April. You can invoke the Ruffy clause, which is you reserve the right to completely forget what you said the day before. You can change your mind because this league, if anything, has taught us all, Tam, never stick your neck out on it because they're all beating each other.
Yeah, they are, and I think a lot of people at the start of the season, after 10, 12 games, had Aberdeen third sewn up, like myself. So, and obviously they've been on a bad run, but in terms of Kilmarnock, I just think this season at their home record's not been that good. Usually at home they're really, really strong. They've not scored enough goals this season either. Finlay would come on at the weekend. I think he'll go back into the team tomorrow. And I think they're in big trouble, Peter, and I think Motherwell can beat them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for, I don't even know if it is an upset. I think Motherwell are desperate to go into that last game against Hearts at home with a chance to get into the top six.
Yeah. Do you like Wimmer as an arrival in our country?
Yeah, Peter, I like foreign guys coming in, different ideas in the game, and he's getting a tune out of the players. Last couple of results, a wee bit disappointing, obviously losing heavily up at Aberdeen, but I don't know, I think they can go down to Kilmarnock and win, and I'm going to go for 2-1 to Motherwell, and they'll keep that top 6 alive.
Yeah, if anything, he's been very complimentary about the Scottish players' attitudes, Ali. He reckons there's a lot of things that we have going in our favour.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was fairly complimentary about the enthusiasm, the work rate, being fairly dedicated. Again, I think he's been quite positive too. I think he's come in and a bit like Valakari, tried to emphasise the positives, tried to build his team up. I think I agree with Tam. I think they still fancy themselves as edging that top 6 place.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, give me your prediction.
I think they're going to win.
Yeah,
tomorrow. I think it might be 2-1.
2-1.
One each.
One each. Oh, said with conviction as well there, Ruffy. I'm going to go Killy 2-1. Just because I think Derek, I really rate Derek as a manager. I like him as a person. Not that I don't like Wimmer. I just want everybody to, you gave me that look again, Ali. That look. That
read out Ken Douglas Senior.
I'm going to read out Ken Douglas Senior before I get on to Hearts Dundee United. It says, we know his name's not Ken Douglas Senior. It's just someone who's decided to take that mantle on. Says, Peter, where are your standards on this show when you allow Tam to come in with that haircut? I have to tell you, by the way, that is looking far better than it has been over the last few weeks.
Get a picture of yours, barring it up, Ken Douglas Senior.
Oh, yes, he hasn't got one. I've just seen him not. But the thing about it is, I mean, I'll never forget, I think Ryan McGowan filmed it, which was Scott Allen just fixing his long. He was trying to grow it like Scott Allen, but he hasn't really got that ability to do that. You know, there's some people that it doesn't look right on them, Ali. Yeah.
Too much grey at the sides, Peter. It just didn't look right.
No, well, it'll get greyer as you go on. Wait till you get to your 60th. I'll not be there. Hearts versus Dundee. Hearts versus Dundee United. Now, here's the thing. How many times have we asked a manager, do you set yourself any targets? And they go, no, it's one game at a time, it's all this. I liked when I went to interview Jack Ross at St Mirren, he said, we've got these targets here and we give them in little blocks for the team to try and get to. And I thought, great, it was great that he was honest about it. And suddenly we find out that Jim Goodwin had set at the start of the season a 45-point target for Dundee United.
Yeah, I think there are always targets. I think there are always ambitions. Same, I think, with players too. I think strikers always have a figure in mind of what they would like to get to, whether or not they want to share it publicly, so that if you fall short, you're kind of having to stand up to that kind of scrutiny is another matter. But yeah, I think teams will always have targets. Whether or not they're meeting them is a different matter.
Yeah, here's the big question with regards to Hearts and Dundee United. You look at Dundee United, they still will fancy their chances of third. It's in there. They're in the mix for it. They needed that win last week.
Would Jim Goodwin been running for manager of the year if he could finish third?
No.
Newly promoted team?
Yeah.
Finishing third in Europe?
Yeah, not in this season of all seasons.
Not even in the top 4?
Yeah, possibly in the top 4, but not as... he's not getting it, Ruffy, is he? Did I shut him down too quickly?
No, I think he could be
surely in the running.
There you go again. See, when you make a point,
manager
you always
of
get nearer to Ali.
Third in Europe.
Did you see that?
Just come up.
When he makes a point, he gets nearer to Ali. And he hasn't made that many good points.
Me there with that comment.
As Ali moves away, custard pie. Yeah.
What's the circumstances for third?
Dundee United came up in the Premier League this season.
Okay, in the end
they could finish third and get into Europe, and they wouldn't be in the running for manager of the year.
No.
Not
in 4. In the 4
You're not having
nominations.
He's not in the top 4. Who's your 4 then, Ruffy?
4. Did we have 4 for manager of the year?
No,
we 4.
Who's the
4? Probably
Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers, John McGlynn, Dick Campbell.
That's about it. Yeah.
Jim Goodwin would definitely be in the top 3 or 4 if he...
No, even the Hibs manager, for where they were.
Didn't they finish above Hibs if they're just coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point, Tam. He's in the top 4. Are you happy with that?
Aye.
But he's not going to win it.
Annoying me, man.
By the way, who's going to win it then? Hearts, Dundee United, and Hearts. Are they going to hold on to top 6 because St Mirren are hunting them down, Ruffy? Who's getting in?
No, I'm going to go for Hearts.
Yeah,
I'm going to go for Hearts because they've now got 4 Partick Thistle players in their team, so I think they'll prevail.
Yeah. What's the scoreline?
Forward. Hearts to win 2-1.
Yep, I'm going with that, Ali.
I want to say 1 each.
I think Hearts will nick it 2-1. I want Hearts in the top 6, Peter. I think if you're...
You want the derbies?
You want a derby game. And you want I think it would probably be, let's be honest, the top 6 clubs in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a long time since Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Aberdeen, Hearts, Dundee United finished in the top 6.
Quite like that one there from Les, who sent us a message on our feed. You can actually, if you download the app, you can send us messages as well in the contact place, and we'd like to read a lot of your comments. Les Watt says, is there a bit of needle between the angelic alley and all that, Peter? I'm just sensing tension. There is a bit of tension from time to time. Ali's the reason. Why do you
Angelic
think Angelic Ali? We hired Ali for a particular reason that we hire anybody for PLZ. Ruffy, can you remember what it was? Apart from her being a very good journalist,
I was going to say very good journalist. That's what I'm told.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
You read her every week in the 19 papers she writes for?
Yes, absolutely. The one word that begins with a G.
After.
Well, she is a grafter, that's a good one. But that's not the one I was looking for. It begins with a G. It's the reason why we hired her, because she has a quality that we all have. No.
Can I get the HR number?
No, exactly. Get the HR.
Hurry up and tell us what the guy is before we
what's
can
the
move anything else. Hurry up and tell us.
Gobby. Gobby. Gobby, that's what I like about her. She's got a great opinion. Straight in there. Good noise up. That's why we hired Ali. As well as being a good journalist. It was going into an area there. As soon as he said it, I thought, get me out of here. Anyway.
Work with children, pets and footballers.
Yes, that's exactly it, Ali. And now, that's this week's competition. Where is the HR department in this building? Ross County against Aberdeen. Jimmy Thelin, obviously the fans have had a roller coaster ride with him, but he still is hoping that they stick with him.
I think this connection has been strong the whole season, and it's not something you take for granted. You have to always show up, and everybody has to feel that we can, as a team, do everything we can, try our best, and so I'm so happy for the support, and it's going to be also massive tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be massive because County at home at Dingwall, Aberdeen still in the mix after all that poor run, still in the mix for third.
Yeah, you have to give them credit for getting their act together, because it looked as if they were going to be bottom 6 at one stage, but I think they have got their act together. They've got a few players back. Unfortunately, I quite like Ross County. I'd like them to stay in the Premiership, but I think Aberdeen will be too strong for them tomorrow. But it'll be a wonderful atmosphere in that stadium because it'll be full.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about this one for Aberdeen. I think they could be dropping points here.
Yeah, I wonder too. I think I might go 1 each.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1 each on this.
2-1, Nisbet double. I think he's flying. Got his confidence back.
I don't think he's going to be able to stay.
No.
He does look fit, Ali. He wasn't playing down at Millwall, come back from injury. And
did you read the comments from Millwall this week?
Don't want him back?
No, they do want him back. They're going to give him, all bets are off. It's your chance to prove that you've got a future at Millwall.
Well, it'll all come down to finances, probably.
Yeah.
He's probably on a lot of money, on good wages at Millwall.
Do you think Aberdeen should push the boat out for him? A fit Kevin Nisbet?
Yeah. I think he's scored a lot of goals in this league if he's fit.
Yeah.
I just wonder if he himself might fancy that he's still got something to prove down south.
At Millwall?
I think he'll be on really good money. I think, I don't know if Aberdeen would be in a position to match it. And I just wonder if he fancies it, he maybe, might fancy a second bite at it.
His best goal is the flick, isn't it, from the corner?
Aye.
That was his best goal.
Oh, I thought last week's one was a cracker, top corner.
Yeah.
His deflection, no?
Did it?
Yeah.
No, the wee flick's better than it.
Yeah, okay. You're not having deflections, aren't you? The reason why Ruffy is not having deflections, let me just enlighten you of the fact he's not having them because he's adamant that Johnny Rep hit the ball from 30 yards in 1978, and he is adamant that Archie Gemmell's touch deflected it over him when Scotland could have made it into the knockout stages of the World Cup. but you'd have to look at it closely on about 17 cameras to see if there was a touch. Dundee against St Mirren. Now, here's the interesting part of it all. I still listen to what Dundee have to say, and their manager Tony Docherty and your pal Stuart Taylor. They reckon they've got enough. They reckon they've got a goal scorer. They reckon they can get away from that playoff place. They're going to have to beat St Mirren and thwart St Mirren's hopes for top 6.
I can see goals in this game again, Peter. I think Dundee will stay up by the skin of their teeth because they've got goals in their team, but I think they've lost 67 goals in 31 games. And just as well, they've scored 45 or 46. You know, they need to tighten up at the back, Peter. I don't know if if I was Tony Docherty and Stuart, I'd be working on defensive shape all week and just thinking, we need to start keeping clean sheets. I don't know when the last one they had. They need to start keeping, because they've always got a goal in them. St Mirren 5 last week against Kilmarnock. Go 2 each year. I think there'll be goals in this game. It's hard to pick a winner.
I'm going to go 2-1 St Mirren.
No, I'm going to go in Dundee, I think Dundee showed me enough, apart from the goals that they lost. Obviously, Shaughnessy's own goal, I thought the goal shouldn't have been chalked off at 2-0. You know, I think there's enough in them to see out this one 2-1.
I'm the same. I think I'm going to go with Dundee.
Yeah.
I think they just need it. I know St Mirren are still angling, but I think I just think Dundee's need is maybe greater. I think I'm going to say 2-1 Dundee.
Okay, a couple of quick points before we finish. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Obviously, congratulations, Brian Graham, Manager of the Month for the Championship. It's a great job Brian's doing. And also, rather worrying, Ali, just with your own thoughts on this, Queen's Park, the academy looks as if it could be scrapped. Willie Hockey has hinted that he might be withdrawing his money from the club. If that happens, you've got, an average of 600 fans, no business strategy moving forward without a rich benefactor. It's going to be a tall order.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was a real shocker when that news emerged. This week we had David McCarthy in on Wednesday on the journals. He was telling us his son's in that academy. He's 15. I think it will be devastating for those players and for the families who've got kids involved in it. For the club itself, I think it's hugely concerning. Within a whisker of looking at promotion up to the top flight a few seasons back, and now they're struggling at the wrong end of the Championship and the plug being pulled financially. I think it'd be incredibly worrying if you're associated with the club just now. Yeah,
one of the greats of the English Premier League has announced that he's going to be leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. Kevin De Bruyne, Ruffy, what a player. Some of the passes that he put in for goals for Man City, incredible.
Yeah, it just shows you that the demise of Man City, where they were, the players like him were injured for a long, long time, and Rodri as well. You know, it just shows you that you need players of that quality on your side to hit the heady heights, but he's been sensational. Yeah, absolutely. Just one little footnote to finish. Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. Ange at it again, cupping his ears to the
desperate for a payoff
to the fans, and clearly some of the fans were unhappy with one of his substitutions, although the substitute came on and scored. Ange explained why he was cupping his ears.
Jeez, mate, it's incredible how things get interpreted. We just scored. I just wanted to hear him cheer, because I mean we've been through a tough time, and I thought it was a cracking goal, and I wanted them to get really excited, because I felt at that point we could potentially go on and win the game. I just felt momentum was on our way. It doesn't bother me that it's not the first time they've booed my substitutions or my decisions. That's fine. They're allowed to do that, but we just scored a goal. We just scored an equaliser. I was just hoping that we could get some excitement. People want to read into that somehow I'm trying to make a point about something. I said I felt, we've been through a tough time, but I just felt there was a bit of a momentum shift there, and if they can get really behind the lads, I thought we had the momentum to finish on top of them.
If you believe that, you believe it.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if you can hear. It's almost like I can hear the crocodile and the alligator waiting to go off in Peter Pan, isn't it? I mean, it really is. He's just the time.
A bit like the week leading up to the Scottish Cup final, when Ange had been linked with Spurs all week, and we had him in a press conference and had very similar kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Clock ticking. Can't see Ange beyond the summer at Spurs. Can you give us your thoughts on that? Just before we go, Ruffy, we're looking forward to, we'll be heading to Kelty Hearts tomorrow night, thankfully.
Yes, I'm really looking forward.
You met Tam and that,
I've been looking forward to it for the past year.
Yeah, and also The other thing, so you have. And the other thing I'm really looking forward to, which we'll have in next week's show as well, which is something which I think we take great pride in, Scottish women's football, which, Alison, you're really at the forefront for us on that, and you're heading up for Scotland against Germany at Tannadice.
Yeah, the Nations League tie this evening and the return leg on Tuesday night, so you'll get all the reaction to that on Monday's Women's Football Show.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, great credit to Alison, Kerry, Cara and Cheryl for their coverage of the Scottish Women's Football Show. If you like women's football, then you get your helping here on PLZ. We started it all way back, Ruffy. All the women's footballers who were coming on the show in PLZ year 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, I have to say we're about years ahead of most everybody else who weren't
box ticking.
any texting. Yeah, you're right. You know, and then as usual, we just copy us.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for that line, Ruffy. I didn't see that coming, but it's a very good line, because usually now the guys in the newspapers can stop the record button and try and copy anything we're doing, as do most of the broadcasters. Anyway, we like to give you a wee tackle now and then, because that's why we're all here, four gobby people out to annoy you all. Great to have you on PLZ Soccer. We are the disruptors. We're here to give you as much entertainment as we possibly can. Some of our haircuts are a mile out, but we don't care. We're out there to let you enjoy yourself. Our reporters will be out there at the Scottish Premiership fixtures, the international fixtures as well over the weekend. And next week we've got some really big news coming to you from PLZ Soccer. Hopefully you'll get involved in it. We'll give you details of that at the start of the week. Hit the subscribe button. Kerry, I can tell you, is with Tam and Ruffy for the Saturday preview show tomorrow. Hopefully you can enjoy that from 9 o'clock onwards. From everybody here on the Football Show, with the sun shining, have a great weekend. Go and support your team. And remember, it's only a game. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching.